Beastburg broadcast number 001.
This is Uncle Bert Lamb saying hello from Beastburg. We're broadcasting from planet Darkstar today to your planet Earth. We want to thank you for sending Earth songs to us in musical notation format and for making them show up as screensavers on our idle computers. This Darkstar Journal show is a sort of return gift from our little group. On Darkstar, it is 3215 and the 8th day of the 8th month, August. This morning, a Tuesday, when my granddaughter Ellie Ram poked her head through the hatch up in my Jackster archive cupola, I was researching robots online. Ellie hopped right onto the swivel chair and rode it over to me. I'd reminded her yesterday that in her role covering at the archive for baby Lambkin, she should try to be herself, and here she was, one day later, acting just like a big kid. "Tell me about your trip over to the Jackster plant this morning," I said. "How did it go with Agnes Fox?" "Fine. I did everything you told me. I freaked out going through plant security into Jackster's. I put my teleportal on the transpad and it somehow wiped a lot of my personal stuff. An old bat going off shift from the assembly line told me how later when you go out, your stuff is put back on automatically, but you should have warned me about it." After waiting a moment, Ellie said, "So then I called Agnes's PA, Jenny Chinchilla, on my teleportal. She told me she was in R&D. Jenny sounded really nice. Anyway, the factory floor is huge, but I walked past all the front offices and found the wide stairs going down into the cafe area." "More detail, please," I said. "Did you use the map app that appeared on your phone after it had been temp wiped?" "I didn't notice the map, but I asked a couple of older horses who were in a stall, and they told me about it." "That would be the Fuddles," I said. "They are the front officers in charge of animal resources." "So," said Ellie, "downstairs there's a narrow corridor around the side of the wide stairs, and way around the back I got to a door marked R&D. As I came in, I could tell there was some kind of meeting going on up at the front with everyone standing around. If I'd looked, I could have seen them through the big window from the cafe. As I walked up towards them, everyone was silent, looking at me. I was very embarrassed." "How many were in the meeting?" I asked. 6 or 7. Agnes Fox and Jenny Chinchilla and Ben Bear, who seemed to know who I was, even though I'd never met him. And there was this turtle on a floor roller, acting as if he owned the place. Also an extremely short female rabbit in overalls called Marge, who looked like she had been working under a car for too long. Really greasy fur. She was the most friendly and nice. Also Kid Lambkin. I'd heard about him from baby Lambkin, since he's her dad, and anyway, I've seen him in photos. He was okay, too. Not warm exactly, but kind of open, as if he had already heard about me. I interrupted her at this point. "You seem to be assessing these animals entirely on how friendly they were to you personally." "Well, they all just seemed very involved with whatever they'd been talking about. I was the big interruption. It was curious that they were meeting over by that big window, looking into the cafe area where everybody could see them from the other side. It seemed like kind of a public place for such a tense meeting." "You didn't tell me they were tense." "Well, I'm telling you now." "Why were they tense?" I asked. "I never found out." Anyway, I walked right up to Agnes Fox and told her you wanted to chat. She smiled and gave me a big hug and said she was glad to finally get to spend some time with me, but she was too busy to talk. So sweet. I really like her. "You tell her I wanted a meeting?" I asked. "Yeah, she was fine with that." Then Jenny offered for me to have a cappuccino in the cafe with her, so we took off. "What about my meeting with Agnes? When can we meet up?" "Soon. I told you she's busy." "Really?" I said. "That's it? So you just left her then?" Ellie was swiveling idly on my chair now, occasionally turning a full circle. "Jenny's great," she said. "We really got on." It turns out she lives with the Froggies, that couple who run the Beastie Cinema. Jenny pays them a reduced rent because she helps Mrs. Froggy in her garden. Did you know there is a humongous garden behind the cinema? She texted me some pictures, and Ellie showed me her phone. See, their garden goes the whole length of the block, maybe because all the other buildings are like normal businesses and don't need back gardens. I've been to that garden, I said. I once got invited to one of the Froggies' famous summer garden parties. The Froggies live downstairs, Ellie pointed at a picture. That's why you always have to walk up to get into the cinema. And the projection room is in like a little hut above the theater area. Jenny sometimes gets to be the projectionist when Mr. Froggy is away. Most films are digital now and you just flick a switch, but all the old movies they play are shown on an ancient 35mm projector. Medium-sized reels still get delivered to them in metal boxes, and they splice them onto one enormous reel with their own kit, and then they project that. Later, they cut the film back up to fit on the small reels again and send them back to where they got them. Jenny's the projectionist tonight, and I'm going to hang out with her there. Did you know she's an orphan who grew up at Woody Spit? Jenny couldn't believe I've never visited the place since we always stay so nearby down in West Cleanser with Grandpa Sheep. Ellie stopped swiveling around on her chair. So what about that? She asked. How come we've never had anything to do with Woody Spit when so many of your friends grew up there? It's complicated, I said. Esmeralda Rabbit, the head, can't stand Grandma. They had some big problem with each other at the boarding school they attended together when Grandma was just like 6 years old. Ellie stood up. But Aunt Rayon visits Woody Spit. That's because her new boyfriend works there. You shouldn't call Curly her new boyfriend. You make it sound like she has a new one every month. He's like her third. Let's go back, I said. Do you think when Agnes Fox heard you were coming, she asked Jenny to take you for a cappuccino? That's ridiculous, said Ellie. Why would Agnes do that? Jenny was just being friendly. But she walked out with you right in the middle of a serious meeting. You have no idea what the meeting was about? I have no idea, said Ellie. Well, I asked you to look around and take a hard look at Agnes, I said. Maybe that's why she had Jenny get you out of the way. Grandpa, exclaimed Ellie, you're so suspicious. Why can't you believe that Agnes and Jenny just like me because I'm nice? Ellie, all you have told me is that Agnes gave you a big hug and Jenny whisked you away for a long chat about the Froggies. You'll see, said Ellie. Jenny likes me, and we're going to be real friends. And with that, she stormed off and went crashing down the stairs.